All right, I am recording. So those who registered and are watching the replay, you'll miss out on Q&A at the end. However, if you jump into Facebook and go to my Legal Support for Women Facebook group, I'm happy to answer your questions there afterwards if you have questions. So welcome to tonight's webinar, Why Women Need to Approach Legal Disputes Differently. And this topic, I guess, is a little bit more of a rant for me than too much practical stuff. This is really eye-opening. I want to open your eyes to what you're up against if you do go down a traditional pathway. The traditional pathway does have its place and is necessary in certain situations, but understand some of the disadvantages that are built in specifically for women and the biases in the system. So Legally Wise Women is an initiative that I've created because the stress, the uncertainty, the sleepless nights, all those things that are experienced not just by women, but I think for women in particular, it prevents women then from acting. What we know is that about 83% of women facing a legal problem don't even get professional advice. So they may not know that there is a problem that is illegal, that has a legal solution. They may just, shrug and give up and believe that that's how it is. They may be too afraid. They may be worried about fees, worried about authority, worried about all sorts of things. And look, I mean, this whole topic tonight is about the system. The system is, it's not broken. It just wasn't built for us in the first place. The system that we have was established in the United Kingdom. It got transported to Australia. It is based on common law principles, which developed over time by people petitioning kings. So you'd go and see the king to solve a problem. Then there was too many problems. The king started outsourcing those things. It eventually appointed judges. Then legislation got too complex and people couldn't advocate for themselves. So the profession of lawyers was created. And then there was a whole business created around providing advice and outsourcing disputes so that people didn't deal with their own conflict, couldn't advocate for themselves anymore. And I do like to say that if life is a game, then lawyers understand the rules of the game. But as I said as well, it is a business. And so they're there to make money, not just to help. And there's a whole lot of conflicts and consequences because of that. So why pay attention to me? I am a lawyer, I'm talking about it from inside the system. And I can't change the system from inside, unfortunately. So what I'm trying to do is do more outreach, education, legal literacy, and make sure women understand what they're facing, know their alternatives. I have been running my own law firm for 10 years. I have a small firm in Victoria, about 10 staff, and we do private client work. I am an accredited specialist, so not just a general practitioner. I have done further study and then a 12-month program with the Law Institute of Victoria to become an accredited specialist. My area of specialty is in wills and estates, so death, estate planning, and trusts, business structures, succession planning. I'm also an accredited mediator, so I've removed myself a little bit from the arm's length sort of disputes that lawyers often deal with, and have learnt more about how to facilitate hard conversations and how to get people to look at their own issues and try and work out resolutions between themselves, which was mind-blowing in itself, given I'd practiced for 15 years prior to that and just had pretty much taken the responsibility off people to that point. So what are we learning tonight? Well, as I said, it's my chance to have a little bit of a rant about some of the biases that women face when they are dealing with a legal problem in the traditional structure of courts and providing evidence and being a witness and all those things. And so why really we do have to look at alternatives. We should be focused on alternative dispute resolution. We should be looking at early stage interventions, and we should be understanding how we make decisions and how we communicate and how that's going to affect how we're perceived and how a strategy can be implemented. So many biases are built into the legal system. And I think it's also just because men struggle, I think, to think about the complexity of women. We do get put into archetypes way too easily, and those archetypes get transported into the minds of judges, into the minds of barristers, into the minds of juries. So if a woman doesn't fit into an archetype, then they're bad, or they're too confusing to understand, and there isn't compassion or empathy applied. So some of the archetypes that are typically sort of rolled out through a courtroom are the good mother that sacrifices herself for her children and runs around, neglects herself and does everything for everyone else. You have the virgin archetype, so someone who is pure and quiet and kind and needs to be protected, and that sort of plays a little bit into this damsel in distress. So many of these archetypes do not focus or involve a strong woman. You have the slut is an archetype that very much plays into a lot of family law, divorce, discrimination cases, workplace cases, obviously sexual harassment cases, and then criminal cases as well. So women ask for it, and we have all this sort of victim blaming stuff, and that is a serious bias that exists. You also have the evil stepmother, you have the crone, you have the bossy bitch. So we get put into an archetype, and we can't be complex creatures, unfortunately, in these systems. Because also, unfortunately, and there's been a lot of studies around this, that judges and juries are not blind like justice should be. They do come with their preconceived ideas, and even whether they eat or whether they're having a good day or not plays into how people are perceived as well. So eyes open if you're dealing with this system. How we communicate is also something that goes against us, unfortunately, in the system. And it also plays a lot into some of the biases too. So, and it's not our fault. I mean, the way that women communicate, the way we have been brought up is to people please, is to be less direct with our communication. We're less forceful. We apologize a lot for what we say. We defer to others. We go round and round in circles. We ask other people for their opinions, perhaps too much, because we already know, but we doubt ourselves. All these things, unfortunately, factor into us looking as an unreliable witness, or as someone who's indecisive, doesn't know what she wants. So again, all of these things are downfalls for us when we're being judged by another solicitor, a barrister, a judge, a jury, when we're putting forward our own evidence in our own words, it's sometimes to our detriment. So again, like if we can avoid being in the system and be in a more nurturing environment where we have more time, less judgment, more say and control over the issues and the outcomes ourselves, it can only be a better experience for us and a better result ultimately. Not only that, but it saves a lot of time and money too, because the traditional system is clogged up and slow and tedious. And as I said, the whole business of the law that wraps around it costs you a lot. Our decision-making process. Aren't we strange creatures, women? And yet I'm so proud to be a female. So men, I believe, are brought up to be a bit more decisive. So they're already a step ahead in some respects. Now, a lot of this is generalized, yes. However, we need to individually understand how we make decisions. So as I said before, with the communication, we often defer too much to others. We often don't take the power that we have over our own lives. We people please. We try and keep everyone happy. We try and make it go away. And we don't often give ourselves the time we need to be clear on what we want, to be able to make a decision that's actually good for us, and know that if it's good for us, it's probably good for most people around us as well. So we all do have a unique way of making decisions. There's no one set way on how to make a decision, and it does very much come down to your personality, your upbringing, and your natural energy in some respects, and how we've been shaped over time too. So, I mean, a lot of people say that you could trust your gut, that, you know, you get an intuitive hit, you should trust your intuition, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us do not trust that. We're not in touch with it. We're not in tune with it. We do not trust our gut. And some of us shouldn't trust our gut. Some of us should take 24 hours and sleep on it before making a decision. Some of us need to move our bodies and go for a walk. Some of us need to talk it out with people. However, when we're talking it out, we shouldn't necessarily be listening for advice. We just have to talk to actually get clarity. For others, they just need a change of space to be able to get clarity. So when you get trapped all day in one room doing a mediation and you can't sleep on it overnight because it's got to be done that day, and you can't change your environment because you're stuck in a little room and you really don't have an opportunity to move around all that much, that can be really detrimental. And this is a traditional system that would lock you into that. Whereas if you have a better understanding of your own unique decision-making process, you can plan around that. So instead of a one full day mediation, you could have 2 half-day mediations. You could also have a strategy set up with your solicitor that if you need to provide them instructions, your solicitor needs to speak to you the day before, and then you need to sleep on it and get back to them the next day, so that you just don't have an emotional reaction, so that you have been able to find that clarity. It's really important to have a fairly good understanding of that for yourself, and then to be able to express the importance of that and work with someone who is right for you to work with. Whole nother topic, and I've done a couple of webinars on that as well, so you can go back and look at that content about finding and hiring the right lawyer having the right support around you. Told you I'd get a little ranty. So, alternative dispute resolution. So I've spoken about mediation. However, it's early stage mediation that's more important. If you get into the system and you have a court-ordered mediation, the mediation process by that stage is warped, not in the true meaning of how it should be. You have not narrowed issues up to that point. You've probably inflated issues, and you've got really strong positions by that stage that you're both stuck in. And then you get stuck in a room and you're forced to try and somehow come into the middle in one day. I mean, very, very stressful. However, early stage mediation, I'm a huge advocate for it. Go and have your mediation before even seeing a lawyer. If you're uncomfortable, see a lawyer first, but go and have your mediation without a lawyer. I can also help you find and hire the right mediator as well, which is very important. A lot of mediations can be done online these days. And I said you can do a half day or a 90-minute mediation, do 3 90-minute mediations. Like, there's no rules about how this has to be done. You just have to find the right people to walk you through the process. Other alternatives, depending on the sort of dispute you have, ombudsmans are fantastic. They're free mainly. Consumer Affairs, Small Business Commissioner, the Family and Small Business Ombudsman. So all these places have a free dispute resolution process built into them. And that covers a lot of your consumer problems, your contract problems, even residential tenancy problems, neighbourhood disputes. There is this dispute resolution centre in Victoria. Most other states have a similar dispute resolution centre for community disputes. So just knowing what other alternatives you have for yourself. And if you need legal advice and you're scared about going and seeing a private lawyer, again, I can help you find and hire the right one so you know the process. But go and see a community legal centre. There is a women's community legal centre in every state. There is a national women's community legal centre. There's also Justice Connect. They're really great organisations. More often than not, you can have at least one free appointment, which will point you in the right direction. So there are just a few alternatives, let alone the tech alternatives that you have. So there are lots of tech places that can generate documents for you, but there are starting to also be some tech solutions where a robot can basically spit out what is just and equitable for you. And then you just go, well, the robot removes the emotion. The robot must be pretty much right. You know, let's do that. So again, if you need a whole lot of these resources, a good place to start is to connect with me on Facebook into the Legal Support for Women group. Or then you can progress to that into the actual community that we have, where a whole lot of the resources and hundreds of videos are. And hence we come to the right support. So your lawyer shouldn't be your only support. Let's try not to just have the support of some of these venti Facebook groups where people just pile on and tell you all the worst horror stories, because that's not going to help your stress. Your friends and family won't necessarily be the greatest support for you either, particularly if they haven't had great experiences themselves. You want a different experience from that. So, you know, having a legal coach could be an option. Having a psychologist would be a great option. So just surrounding yourself by the right people, and know the right people that you can discuss it with and the people that you can't. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's going to tell you what they think. It's not an all, everyone's opinion is not valid and not right for you. So you can do the process solo. You can take all the learnings that I have and go and implement them. Or you can do it supported, because I offer some support as well. The support I offer is a little bit more limited because I don't do much one-on-one work. I have my law firm to manage, so I'm dealing with clients through that. I do mediations. So again, if a mediation's what you need, that is something I can do. But otherwise, I've got the Facebook group I've spoken about, and I've got the online community. The online community is Legally Wise Women. There's the premium suite in that, where you do get access to me, or there's a lower version of that. In the lower version, you still get Q&A recordings, you get hundreds of videos, you get resources in terms of where to start downloads, and some of the tech resources, the links for those are in there, the links for ombudsmans, all those sorts of things, and courses, the how to find and hire the right lawyer course, how to negotiate for what you want course. And of course, once you're in my Facebook group or in my community, you can DM me and give me a broad understanding of what you're after. And of course, you get access to my network, because I can then give you a couple of referrals. So that's the website. You can go along and have a look at the free trial for Legally Wise Women. But as I said, a great place to start is also Facebook. So jumping into the Facebook group, I do a live video in there every week, and then there's a replay. There is guides in there, particularly for people who are going through a separation. There's a whole area just for that. A lot of these replays are in there as well. So there are a whole lot of other webinars and resources to watch about finding and hiring the right lawyer, about finding and hiring the right mediator, about how lawyers charge, how the legal fees work. I've done a more in-depth webinar on the alternatives that there are, rather than just that 3-minute snippet that I just did then. So many things there for you. I just want women to have a far better experience than they have been up till now. I can't change the system from the inside, but by golly, I can start trying to access those 83% of women who do not get any advice at all, and try and get at least 5% of them to understand that there is something that they can do and get a better result for themselves. So I'm going to stop the recording, see if there's any questions. Again, for those who are watching the replay, jump into the Facebook group or the community here if you do want to DM me to ask any questions.